The New York Rangers ended up being one of the best teams in the entire NHL this past season, 2023-2024, winning the President's Trophy, being the best team in the regular season in the NHL, while also making it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, losing in Game 6 to the Panthers, but being one of the top-tier teams in the entire NHL, being a Final Four team in the playoffs, and being the best team in the regular season. But are they going to be one of the best teams and contender for the Cup once again this upcoming season? That's the question I'm going to answer in this video. And talking about this Rangers team now, they have been one of the better teams in the entire NHL over the last 3 seasons. It's really the second time they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals in the past 3 years, as they ended up doing so back in 2021, 2022, making it all the way to the conference finals that season and lost to Tampa Bay Lightning in 6 there, the other Florida team. So they have been a very good team. They made 2 of the last 3 Eastern Conference Finals, which is quite good. They haven't won a cup yet, but they have been a very good team. They've gone on some great runs, been a top-tier team in the regular season, so I do think that they are obviously one of the better teams in the entire league. But can they get over the hump? That is the real question with this team. I do think they have one of the best coaching staffs in the entire NHL, though, with Peter Laviolette being the head coach there, and a lot of other great assistants as well. A guy like Michael Pekka, who was a fantastic coach this year, he made a clear impact on the Rangers, bringing this team from one of the kind of more mediocre face-off teams in the entire NHL to one of the best in the entire league. This was a big jump up from the previous, long while, honestly, with this Rangers team. They have not been a great face-off team, but Michael Peck came in here and had a massive impact right away on this team's faceoffs, which definitely helped this team out a ton in overall play. And Peter Laviolette is a coach who has won a Stanley Cup. He did so back in 2005, 2006 with the Carolina Hurricanes as their head coach, and has also made the finals 2 other times with 2 different teams, doing so with the Flyers back in 09-10, as well as with the Nashville Predators back in 2016, 2017. So I think he is truly one of the top-tier coaches in the entire NHL, definitely one of the better American ones of all time, honestly. I think, in general, Laviolette is a very talented coach. He's also won a championship in the AHL there back in 98, 99, so a very talented coach there, been around for a very long time, and definitely is just an all-around very solid coach. I think has made a big impact on this Rangers team. And now kind of taking a look here at how much the Rangers can truly upgrade this team. They do have about $12.85 million in cap space, so they're going to have some room to kind of sign some players in free agency, possibly get a top line caliber or top 6 caliber right winger, which obviously is a pretty big need for this team right now to possibly go alongside Kreider and Zibanejad. But they also do have 2 RFAs, 2 restricted free agents who are more than likely going to be re-signed. A guy like Braden Schneider will definitely be, but a guy like Ryan Lindgren there could possibly be traded, but I would imagine he's more than likely back on this team, whether some Rangers fans like that or not. And I would imagine it's probably going to eat up about half that cap space which is currently available. So you're probably looking at something around, just over $6 million to spend, which is not too bad there at all. You can definitely get, a top 6 caliber right winger, fourth line center, maybe add another defenseman as well. So there definitely are some moves that this team can make. And with that cap space opening up from getting rid of a guy like Barclay Goodrow, who has a cap hit of $3.64 million for the next 3 seasons, that was a very nice move there by Chris Drury to put him up on waivers. San Jose claims him, they get rid of him for absolutely nothing, which definitely is a big help for this team. And now talking about some of the positives, then we'll take a look at some of the negatives. Starting off with the positives though here, obviously, right off the bat there, like I kind of talked about earlier on, this coaching staff is very, very good. I would say we have one of the better coaching staffs and one of the better head coaches in the entire NHL. We have a guy who's won a Stanley Cup, made the finals 3 different times. That is definitely a pretty special thing. Obviously, not many coaches can make it there, and having a guy who's done it 3 times, obviously going 1 for 3 in the finals there isn't ideal, but he still has been a very good head coach. He's won a championship in the AHL there. He has been a just great coach for pretty much his entire career at the pro level. Taking a look now at another positive thing about this team, and that is Igor Shesterkin. He is a true top-tier, elite-level goaltender, one of the best, if not the best, in the entire NHL, especially when it comes to the playoffs. That's the one thing about Igor, is the fact that, some guys in the NHL, they might be great regular season players, and we know that as Rangers fans, that some guys are great in the regular season there, but don't quite show up come playoff time. A guy like Igor Shesterkin, you don't have to worry about that at all. This is a guy who come playoff time is actually going to elevate his game a ton and truly show that he is a top-tier elite goaltender. That's kind of when he plays his best hockey, is in the playoffs. He puts on some phenomenal performances there, game in and game out. He rarely has a bad game or two. Maybe he lets in a bad goal here or there, but the rest of the game there, if he lets up 1 bad goal, he's normally great for the rest of the game there, or just plays an overall fantastic game from start to finish. And taking a look next here at another positive for this Rangers team, and that is the special teams. This Rangers squad has one of the best special teams in the entire NHL. from the power play to the penalty kill. It is quite phenomenal. This past regular season, they ended up having a top 3 power play and a top 3 penalty kill as well. They were third for both those stats there, power play and penalty kill, which honestly is just very special. I mean, not many teams have that good of special teams for a power play, obviously, or a penalty kill, but having both of those that are that good is quite special. And we do know that the power play definitely failed this team come the Eastern Conference Finals there against the Florida Panthers. It was absolutely horrendous against them, but for the most part, though, throughout the playoffs there, other than obviously that final series there where it really would have came in clutch for the team, it didn't really do well against the Panthers there. But other than that, throughout the regular season and for the past few years as well, not just this season, they have had one of the best power plays and penalty kills in the entire NHL. And when it comes to the power play as well, you really can't rely on that to do most of your work offensively. You know, you have to obviously hope that the other team takes a penalty and the ref actually calls it to give you a power play. So come playoff time especially, you cannot rely on that to obviously kind of, carry your offense through. So hopefully this 5-on-5 scoring can obviously take a big step up, which we definitely know can be an issue for this Rangers team. But taking a look here at another positive, and that is the Rangers do have one truly elite offensive line. The Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere line is one of the best offensive lines in all of hockey. And for proof of that, this past regular season, the Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere line ended up having the most goals scored in the entire NHL from a single line together with 54 goals for. Not too bad there at all. Also had a goals for per 60 of 3.75, which is very, very good. And in general, we're just one of the better offensive lines in all of hockey. And for the playoffs there, they still have the most goals scored with 11 goals for, with a 3.68 goals for per 60. And we'll obviously see if the Hyman, McDavid, and Nugent-Hopkins line can pass them with one more game left here in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. So we'll see what happens there. If they are obviously playing together, they might be able to kind of pass that. But either way, this line of Lafreniere, Trocheck, and Panarin is absolutely phenomenal. Offensively, they're one of the top lines in the entire NHL, and I think will obviously be one of the best lines going forward in hockey as well. And another big positive with this Rangers team is the fact that they have a true number 1 caliber defenseman on this team. There's not too many out there. There's maybe, 6, 7, or 8 in the entire NHL that I would say are true number 1 caliber defensemen in the entire NHL. Guys like Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, Roman Josi, Victor Hedman, those kind of guys. There's only I would say 6 or 7, maybe 8 at the very most. In general, there's not too many, true number 1 caliber defensemen in the entire NHL. There's a few guys you can argue, but Adam Fox is definitely one of them. I think he's a true number 1 guy, and they're very hard to come by. Like I said, there's not too many out there, but half a dozen, maybe a little more than that in the entire NHL that are true number 1 kind of guys who are, obviously not only good offensively, but good defensively as well. Having a guy like Fox there is truly a very special thing and definitely a very important factor on this Rangers team, especially when he's healthy, because this past playoff run there, we didn't see him very healthy, and he was not obviously near 100% as it came out. He was obviously quite hurt throughout the playoffs. If he can be healthy, he can be a true difference maker in the playoffs for this Rangers team. Another positive is the overall kind of talent that this squad does have. Not only guys like Adam Fox and Lafreniere and Trocheck and Panarin, but also guys like Zibanejad, Kreider, Lindgren, Keandre Miller, Braden Schneider. There are some very talented players on this team who can make a big impact. And yes, some of them, don't do the best in the playoffs or kind of go quiet for a while, maybe, kind of cool off for a bit. But for the most part there are a lot of really good kind of core players, top 6 forwards, top 4 caliber defensemen on this team. And obviously guys like Braden Schneider, who hope next season can take a massive step up in their game. And if they can, that would be a massive help for this team. But in general, the overall kind of talent level on this squad is very good. Yes, some of them kind of quiet down and cool off for a bit there, but for the most part, this team has some fantastic talent and one of the more talented rosters in the entire NHL. And the last positive we're going to talk about with this Rangers team in today's video is the overall talent level in net there. The Rangers have obviously, yes, one of the top goaltenders in Igor Shesterkin, had a .913 save percentage this year, but in the playoffs was absolutely elite as he ended up having a .927 in 16 games played. But the main thing is the fact that this team also has one of the best backup goaltenders in the entire NHL in Jonathan Quick, one of the best, arguably if not the best, American goaltender of all time. Quickie is absolutely amazing at 27 games played this season. 18 wins, only 6 losses, 2 overtime losses, but ended up having a 911 save percentage and a 2.62 goals against average. Had 2 shutouts there, had an assist as well, which is pretty cool. But in general, he is one of the best backup goaltenders in the entire league. And having a guy like that as your backup is very reassuring. If injuries happen, or for example, like this past season when Igor wasn't playing his best hockey, having a guy like Quickie there who really kind of helped bring this team along was a massive help with this squad to obviously allow us to be a President's Trophy winning team, but also to kind of give a guy like Igor Shesterkin a bit of a breakout moment is definitely a massive help. And now moving on to some of the negatives with this team, and there definitely are a few, unfortunately. And one of them is definitely the fact that some of these players play absolutely fantastic in the regular season there, but kind of take a bit of a step back or cool off at moments for a while in the playoffs. And a guy like Artemi Panarin is a decent example of that. Yes, he put up some good points there, about a point per game, which is not too bad there at all. But at moments in the playoffs, he really just went quiet and did not do a whole lot. And you could definitely say with that with a guy like Zibanejad and Kreider at moments there. So there definitely are quite a few guys there who really went quiet in the playoffs. Guys like Lafreniere and Trocheck were phenomenal through and through. A guy like Gaudreau really stepped up there. But overall, this team just has a few players who really, when the light shine brightest in the playoffs there, don't show up when it matters most. And that definitely can be a big issue with this squad. Another big issue with this team as well is the overall kind of lack of size, toughness, physicality, and grit, which we definitely saw come into effect against the Florida Panthers, who are pretty much the most physical and just kind of overall kind of toughest team in the entire NHL. They have a ton of very tall players, very big players who play a very tough, physical, and gritty game, and the Rangers need to add some more of that this offseason if they want to be able to compete with a team like the Panthers. And another big issue that I noticed with this team, or a negative that you could say, is especially come playoff time, what we really noticed was the lack of overall depth scoring from this team. From the third and fourth lines there, especially when you're not counting a guy like Barclay Goodrow, who had a great, playoff run offensively, that's for sure. But, going forward and consistently, I don't think we're going to see that necessarily out of a guy like Goodrow, although he is gone now on the Sharks. He's not going to be able to do that here. If he stayed, he probably wasn't going to do that going forward either. But in general there, the overall kind of depth scoring has been a big issue for this team. And come playoff time, we definitely saw that. The third line there of whether it was, Cooley, Hedel, Wenberg, Kakko, or Rozovic, whatever it was, the third line really could not get a whole lot going offensively. They had some chances, but they couldn't really find the back of the net much at all. They didn't have a lot of offense going. None of those guys really had a ton of assists or goals or just points in general, especially a guy like, obviously, Hedel really didn't have much of an impact at all offensively, didn't get a whole lot going, or at least didn't get a lot of production. Had some good chances there, which definitely hurt this team, but I'm not going to blame it all on him because he obviously just came back from the injury in that Carolina series there, so you can't really blame him for much, but the overall kind of depth scoring from this team was just not good enough. A guy like Wenberg, who we acquired at the deadline for, quite a bit there, put it a draft capital, but you really just did not see enough offensively out of him, and overall defensively, he was not quite fantastic either, which he was supposed to be a very good shutdown guy. He was solid, but definitely was not great, and the overall depth scoring was definitely a pretty big issue with this team. And now taking a look here at arguably the biggest issue or negative with this team from last season, and that is the overall 5-on-5 scoring from this squad. We saw in the playoffs and in the regular season there, it was a big issue, and this isn't the first season where we have kind of an issue as well, unfortunately, but this year we definitely saw it come into effect. In the regular season there, this team ended up finishing tied for 18th place for 5-on-5 scoring with the Calgary Flames, who, let's be honest here, at this point are not a great team. We ended up finishing tied with them with 167 for 18th place, which is not very good at all. This team has to do a better job at scoring at 5-on-5, and hopefully they can add in another kind of top 6 forward to really help with that this offseason. But in general, that needs to be fixed and has been a massive issue for a while now. And in the playoffs, the Rangers ended up having 27 goals for at 5-on-5 with 16 games played. They're in 4th place, but when you take a look at the teams behind them and how many games played they had, things really don't look as good. The red team right behind them in 5th place had 26 goals for at 5-on-5, the Colorado Avalanche, but the Rangers had 5 more games played. The next team after that was 13 games played, the Vancouver Canucks, who had 22 goals for, so 5 back. Then the Canes there had 5 less goals scored at 5-on-5, but only 11 games played, so 5 less games played, 5 less goals, a pretty big difference there. And even the Bruins there had 3 less games played than the Rangers, but only had 6 less goals scored at 5-on-5. So overall, this team needs to do a better job at scoring with 5-on-5. They have to do a better job there. That is a big issue with this team, a massive negative. But hopefully Chris Drury and the Rangers front office can fix some of these negatives and issues and really kind of upgrade to that 5-on-5 scoring that has been a big issue issue for a while now. But also, I do think this team should be one of the best in the entire NHL once again. They should be a true, Stanley Cup contender like they were this past season. Should be on top 5 or 7 team in the regular season, while also being a true kind of threat to possibly win the Stanley Cup next season. Can they actually get the job done, though? That's the big question. Hopefully, Chris Drury and the front office and Peter Laviolette and the coaching staff can get the job done, get the right players in here, get the right chemistry going, and all that good stuff, and hopefully can help this team win a Stanley Cup in 2024-2025. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please smash the like button. It helps with the channel a ton. I would really appreciate it. If you are a Rangers fan, don't forget to subscribe for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day. You can go check me on Twitter if you want, Trenur Sports, and also don't forget to subscribe for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.